Look at this, Marcus, full of people, even in the almost last session.
I met someone that just said they only got out of bed this morning to go to this session.
I'm not surprised.
All right. Yeah, it was Agatha. I hope we're not going to disappoint you. Okay. Welcome to the What's New session. Some people drifting in. We will go through the plan for the next, not only the next year, but a little bit into the future as well, and show you some of the plans, the objectives we have set for the software. And
we are Marcus and Marta.
Yeah, that's true.
He's Marcus. I'm Marta.
M&M, yeah. Thanks, Jim.
I think it's clear that we didn't plan how to start.
Yeah,
But
we planned the rest of this very well, so
yeah.
we hope you're happy.
This is not working.
It's not working?
Oh, I think we ran out of battery.
Oh, we have to click over here, I think. I'll do the first click. Oop. No.
Okay, it's working.
All right.
We're ready?
We're ready.
Okay. So, I mean, you know what's next. We do this every year. We're here to share with you what are the plans ahead. But we're going to stop a little bit before that and dedicate a few minutes to the roadmap process, because there have been some changes happening in the last 2 years, and we want to share them. So you might remember, I mean, many years back, we did start making the roadmap process collaborative and asking for inputs, etc. And that was great. Even 2 years ago, we did a voting process, and that was great. It was very useful. However, it had some challenges. One of them was that we got a huge variety of inputs from many different sizes, from I need a button to click here and do this quickly, to I need multiple hierarchies in my DHIS2. So it was a bit difficult to plan and really make deep analysis playing with all those levels. The other side of it, or the other difficulty, is that it was super varied, and kind of it was difficult to set a strategic approach with all those different inputs responding to very specific use cases. So last year, we already started being more strategic. So the roadmap that we are seeing today is strategy-led. It's not the first year. We started last year. And that means that we are setting first our strategic priorities. Where do we want to go? And that is a long-term thing. That's maybe 4 years, 5 years. And that level is defined by the challenges that we hear about every day, and mainly from the HISC network, but also from all of you. And then we set those priorities. Next step is we define more specific objectives. And those objectives are maybe 1, 2 years, and we can kind of, I mean, I'm not going to talk about KPIs. We all know each other. We are not there. But they can let us assess ourselves in a more specific way. Have we reached this objective? And then down we have the initiatives. And it's between these two levels, oh, I have this, cool, where we actually bring in all your inputs. So it's not that they are not there. We are still looking at Jira, Discovery, the COP, to build this from your inputs. But we make sure we do this first without bias. I mean, the bias of the challenges, to be honest. So we are going to live today between these two, objectives and initiatives. This is setting the vision, and this is the actual, how are we doing this? So the roadmap actually lives here, at this level. But before setting a bit the context up there, what are the strategic priorities? And this process, I'm going to go back 1 second. This is led by implementation, engineering, and product. It's actually informed by implementation. And the first step is implementation lead. So in that process, there were these 3 strategic priorities resulting, each of them has maybe 3 or 4 pages of underlying challenges, how to respond and this and that. But we couldn't go to that level here. Mainly, strategy 1, maintain and sustain high quality DHIS2 implementations. It's not said, but it's mainly addressing long-term implementations, those that are 15 years, 20 years, combining metadata, having changes, so all the metadata integrity, and of course, performance in huge databases over there. Second one, interoperability and extension. Third one, data use, data analysis. Make the data easier, or the access to data easier for the end user. So I'm not going to say more, because I think I'm eating a lot of minutes. And then now we move to the what's next. We hope to have time for questions at the end. But don't forget them. Write them down or something, because we are going to impress you now with all the plans, and you might forget the doubts. So, Marcus, I think we can jump into this now, right?
Yeah, so for the next part of the session, what we will do is, you saw the 3 levels. We will go through the second level. There is 10 objectives that we are making some progress on in 43. Most of them have also planned tasks in 44. Some of them are getting finished in 43. But we will show you the 10 objectives and talk about what we do to each of them. And for the first objective,
not surprisingly,
we have
it's climate, and Rebecca will tell us about it.
So I think hi, everyone. It's fun to be up here today. So I am the implementation person on the stage. We are a tripod here when it comes to engineering, product, implementation. We all share a roadmap, and we generate this together. And I think, as Kristen said, we do have a new girl in town, Climate and Health Tools. And we wanted to make sure that everyone knew that this is actually a part of our DHIS2 roadmap, right? So these tools, they are fully integrated into DHIS2. They're going through processes of very rapid iterative development. So all of these are in continuous release right now. We're getting a lot of requirements in almost real time, weekly, from the 10 pilot countries. And so this is a phase with these tools where everything's moving very fast right now because it's so new. However, none of this works if we are not sitting on top of the platform strategy, of the sustainable DHIS2 system, of the good metadata quality, of the extensibility support, and of course, all of the performance that DHIS2 also gives you. So on behalf of Geir Kjetil and the CHAP team, the CHAP modeling platform, this is actually, I think, the first time DHIS2 has done this. This is its own little piece of software. And GK doesn't like it when I say this, but we say this modeling platform, it is the engine that runs behind the modeling power. So everything in DHIS2, unfortunately, until now is pretty retrospective. But we know that data use and analysis, we need to look ahead. We need to anticipate. And so this is what the CHAP modeling platform, it is a first of its kind innovation in the sense that everyone in the world was making models, but there was no shared modeling infrastructure. So this CHAP platform, you don't really see it unless you're one of those people that does command line code and things, but it is sitting behind you. There are so many requirements going into this that make it possible to run very complex analyses, to start looking ahead. But the way that you interact with CHAP is through the DHIS2 modeling app. So these two pieces, they go together. They have a joint roadmap. The DHIS2 modeling app, that's where the user interfaces with CHAP, makes these predictions. So there will be a lot of work this year on how do we make the evaluation process better. So we can't use predictive analysis if we don't really feel like we trust our information, our data, our predictions, that they can be actionable. And the only way we can do that is to engage users very broadly and deeply and over time to build trust in those predictions. And so the way we do that is through the DHIS2 modeling app. So we will have new visualizations. We want to be able to make it easy to compare models. We also want to make it easy for local developers, local modelers to be able to tweak, to tune, to configure their own model, to insert their own custom model from the universities that they're working with. So over the next year, you'll be seeing a lot of these, and they happen on continuous release. So sometimes these could be coming out as much as every week. So stay tuned. The DHIS2 Climate app, this is also on continuous release. We really feel that this is fully production ready. It's the climate app, but it is so much more. This is actually the way that you can import and harmonize all types of geospatial data. So we really encourage you to think of this app not only for climate, but for bringing all these types of geographic data into DHIS2 to improve your analysis in the Maps app, bring in elevation, bring in vegetation, bring in climate, bring in all of these things, but also be able to harmonize it, grid it, and use it. So next up, it'll be pollution. And another really exciting thing that we have been working on, Bjorn and the IRI team, Columbia University has supported many countries through an ACTS project to have a local map room, and that's where they manage all of their local climate data. So we've worked with that team to develop an API, and I think this will be released probably in the next month or so, but essentially with Malawi, the first test case, to make it a seamless integration of your local climate data with these maps room and having it available to the public health sector through DHIS2. So I will stop there and hand it back to my colleagues.
Thank you.
No, the other one.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca. That was an amazing review of a lot of improvements and things upcoming for climate. So what's our next objective, Marcus? Tracker to aggregate. So we're going to follow this logic, set the vision, and then, I'm repeating, I know, set the vision, and then explain how to get there. This is an easy one, and it's not new. We started last year, if not before. And the vision is to have core reliable features to aggregate your individual data into aggregate data within the core solution of the DHIS2. And this is addressing the three main strategy priorities. You're going to see the legend down here in all slides. We don't need to stop there from now. So how are we going to do this, Marcus?
Yes, thank you. The first thing the first big thing we're working on here is in the data exchange solution. We have something called the Stale Zeros Challenge, but it's really a bigger problem. We need the better logic and better UI for setting up the mappings and moving the tracker data into aggregate. So we are working on the solution with the data exchange, and this is going to, we hope to finish this in 43. One of the other things we are doing is PI disaggregation, and this one we almost removed because we are so close to done. We are doing some wrap-ups. You have seen the demo. Jim has showed it off at multiple occasions, and we know some countries that already started using it. It's still here for the wrap-up reason, and we have been working on this for a while. We also are talking about the PI disaggregations on Android, but the timeline here is a little bit longer. Actually, we are looking into the analysis on how important it is, for example, and whether and what we are doing in the end is not completely clear. We know we're not going to do it in 43 though, so that's why we have 44 here. So happy with your feedback on this one if you have any.
Thank you, Marcus. So the next one, and these two are actually super top, both of them, is performance. So again, this is not new. We have been working on this for many, many years, but we have not yet reached our vision. And the vision is that big countries can implement DHIS2 with tracker programs in a comfortable manner without worrying about, of course, you have to worry about your infrastructure and how you estimate, but knowing that the system will perform. So there are many actually pieces of work looking at this. So if you want to share some details, Marcus.
Yeah, so performance is something we have been standing here and talking about every year on the what's new and what's next. And we have always moved. But the one thing we have always been missing from the engineering side and probably from your side is that we haven't had a very, very good lab and a very hard goal. So this is the first thing we're focusing on now. We are building an infrastructure to run our code through, if not on every PR, at least in intervals, to see that we are becoming faster, to know how much faster the code is, and to ensure that we keep our eyes on the goal. So this is the big one we are working on right now. We expect that we will have new initiatives in 44 based on the measurements, the learnings from this test lab, call it that. And those are slotted for future 44, part of the same objective. You might also wonder why there is so much white space in the middle there. The reason is that we are, as we always have, we keep doing the obvious things, these things. We are doing a lot of improvements to make the code faster and more reliable. And here we have listed the initiatives that are ongoing that we are also planning to finish in 43. In addition, we are really making a push for telemetry now. We really want to have eyes into the field to see uptake, to get data, to see the shape of your instances. So we really hope you want to share back too, because this is going to be really useful information. And we are making a big push in 43 to make your instances call home. And we're not doing that because we're big and evil. We're doing that because we really want to help you guys.
And then the next objective is improving the functional extensions for data collection. So the objective of improving the extend side of the DHIS2 as a platform has been there for a long time, but the focus in the upcoming year is on data collection, and the vision is that all data collection apps, and that is the capture app, that's the data entry app, and that is the Android app in the DHIS2 have extension points so that you can develop your UI or your user experience to be tailored to the actual user flow and use case. Over.
So there are many things we are doing in this objective in 43. And the first I want to mention is that we know that the custom forms have been a pain point. And unfortunately, at the moment, to be completely frank, is this being filmed, Max? No. We are not able to do all kinds of custom forms on version 42. So there is a lot of custom forms around the world that would just not work in version 42. And we want to fix that. What we're doing there is that we are making a plugin point, so we are making a plugin that will sandbox, look like the old app, and let your custom forms keep working. Hopefully with as little as possible or even no steps from you, except installing the plugin. We're also building a plugin point that will allow you to do other things in the data inside the data entry app. Inside the normal workflow, you can add on and build other things if there's useful if there's use cases that is not fully captured by the standard app. So these are the two things I want to mention on the first one. Then we are also in the capture app. We already had plugin support for a while. We have many places you can do plugin points. We have two. This is the third one. We will allow plugging in to the front page list, the working list. And we are also building an example plugin here for doing line row-based data entry. So it's going to be easier to configure and build data entry that looks like your register, if that's what you want. And then we have custom intents on Android, which is which we have been working on for a while, and we are now targeting the October release. So I hope this was worth getting up for Agatha. It is coming in the October release. That's our plan. We have done some work on this already, and we are pretty confident that we will be able to hold that timeline.
That's why Agatha didn't want to miss this session.
Yes. Okay. On Android, we are also doing some POC in 43 for plugins. We have sort of we haven't had the same sort of plugin option on Android as we have had on web for a long time. We have had the SDK, yes, you could build your own UI on top, but we're now doing a POC and looking into how we can make plugins for Android as well. We are not delivering anything in 43 though, we are targeting 44 for this. There is ongoing work now already. And the last one that's worth mentioning, even though it's potentially not getting into 43. I know, Austin, you're looking into some minimal version of this and looking into what we can do in 43. But what we really want is to sandbox the plugins more and make them make a barrier between the plugin and the rest of the solution, so that You can give more targeted access to code that you install via plugins, via the app store, plugins and apps, I'll say. And this work is also starting in 43, but we are planning to have a product in 44. Okay, next one.
And the next two objectives are about metadata management. First one is on metadata management workflows. What we mean with workflows is workflows between a testing server or a dev server, a staging server, and a production server. We are very insisting on good practices, do things in your testing server, etc. But we do know how challenging can be to export metadata, import metadata with existing configurations. So this one is focusing on improving as much as possible that process so that one day it's a seamless process where you just click and export and import, and the world is beautiful. However, because we have limited time, how are we going to address this, Marcus?
Yeah, this is the one that is a little bit disappointing, perhaps. We are doing one thing that is really good in this release that will build up towards the dream that Marta shared, and that is getting better output from the metadata import. We're going to work on the messages you get when something fails. We're going to work on the feedback you get about what was changed. And we think this will be a very good first step on the way. We haven't mapped out the rest of the journey, though. We're not sure how we will get to this end goal. We will keep the goal. We want it to be really simple for you guys to set up a good multi-environment where you would make your metadata changes in the development environment, migrate them to a staging and test them, and then go into production. We don't want that to be a pain. We want that to be easy. And we want most people to do it.
And the next one on metadata management is on integrity. So this is the one that this is also not new. This is an old friend. Many things have been done and were presented in what's new, merging metadata, etc. But we know it can be better. So the vision is that we can implement features that really support identifying and fixing those potential inconsistencies, but also preventing them at configuration and making sure we don't let a UI configure things that are actually not okay in the background. And in this one, we are doing a bit more, aren't we?
Yeah, the first thing, as you might know, we are working on new maintenance app. You have seen it in preview a few times. And we are unfortunately now in the situation where we have two apps. We have the old app and we have the new one, and we are working on re-implementing on the old what we have in the new, what we have in the old. And we have to finish that work before we can really do anything else, right? We don't want to keep expanding the old one. We want to finish the new one, get to the finish line, and then start building the features you want. Doing that in the new app, we have also decided that we're not going to go very far in building a workflow for adding tracker programs and all this advanced stuff that is not going to get good enough anyways. We're going to build a very bare bone app that will allow you to do anything and make sure there are ways of extending that app with all the innovations from the field, with the tools that you guys need. We will make it easy to build something on top of it. Build a smart tool for adding data elements that you want, or build the workflow in that you need when you work on your metadata, and plug that in and share it with others. That's going to be really important in this new app. We want to maintain the minimum. Then we will also build merging tools for metadata for cleaning up. Some of them might come from you. Some of them will be core. These are in the future. We do, however, have a very exciting app that we are working on that we will plan to release in 43. We're working on the name for it. Script app, scrap app. There's been many very good suggestions. And API Explorer, we want to make it simple to write logic and run it on your backend, like cleaning up the white spaces I saw many of you in Jason's session about metadata cleaning and integrity, and there's a lot of the things that we need to clean up that we want to make simpler to build. And all good that you can build an app with the AI very quickly and get the header bar and a lot of garbage code and then a small piece of code that actually is useful. We want to make sure that we will give you a good boilerplate here and a place to paste in your logic, being written by AI or not, and run on your data if you know what you're doing.
Data analysis. This is the challenge was that sometimes the metadata configuration is very visible from the analytics apps, and that's a bit difficult for some users. So the vision is to facilitate the access to data so that they don't have to think of how is this configured, but more like what is the data I'm actually wanting to analyze today. This is a huge challenge and not easy to solve, but there are ways in which we think we can start with. And yeah, and let's hear a bit about them.
Yeah, so this is one of the big things we are doing now in 43. We are working on the new app, or rather replacing the old event reports, event visualizer app. As you know, we already have the line listing app, and there is a lot of similarities between line listing and event visualizer event reports. We are working towards one app now for individual level data, and we think that will be, thank you. We hope it's going to be super simple when you go in to analyze your data, very intuitive where to go. We want to make sure the switching between the apps is going to be very seamless, and that you will be there will be an overall better user experience for anyone working on analytics. There's also one big enough worth a special mention, a new Organit component. We're going to build one Organit component. It's going to be used everywhere. That contains searching, that contains the functionality that is needed everywhere for a smooth user experience. So a new Organit component is it's not going to be finished in 43, but we hope that some apps will use the new one in 43, and we'll finish it in 44. There's some other updates that's also worth putting up here. We will continue working on aligning the Maps app with the rest of the suite, so that even though Maps is still going to be a different app, it will behave the same and look and feel the same. We're going to improve the relative week support for epi weeks and make it possible to do more analysis on epi weeks. And this small last one, we also think you will enjoy. It's nice with the dashboard presentation mode, but we appreciate how when you put this on a big screen in a room, you want it to rotate automatically. So we're going to do that too.
And then enrollment data model enhancements. And the purpose of this objective is actually to respond to new use cases and needs. This one is especially informed by the education domain. So one would think, oh, but the tracker data model is pretty flexible and complex already. Is there any layer that can be added to it? Yes, it is. Many. But we have chosen one to start with, which is?
Yeah, so attribute option combos can be applied on the event level already. We are adding it to the enrollment level as well. And one of the use cases, as Marta said, is the EMIS. We have bumped into many others. We think this is a logical addition that will make sense. It makes sense in our model, it makes sense in our code, and we hope it will be really useful for EMIS and for others.
And then security. Being compliant to the OWASP framework level 1, there are 3 levels. It is on the vision of DHIS2 today. So we hope that can A, help us be more secure, but B, also help you explain that we are secure. So there are many steps for this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there are actually 31 steps, 31 things we have to do. I know because we have a filter in Jira, and 3 of them are big enough for a special mention. That's these 3. We are working on the 2-factor authentication for Android as well, and this is going to finish this release cycle. We also want to build CSP headers and a CSRF prevention strategy in 43, and we're going to make sure that it's not. It's going to be practical. The CSRF protection we will implement is going to be practical, but good enough for claiming level 1 OS security. And then we have, as I mentioned, 31 things to do. We will get to some of them in 43 and the rest in 44. So when we talk about 44, you will be able to claim OS level 1. And that's the plan.
And then the previous to last, I think, it's to integrate external individual level data. We do know that there are many systems out there in the countries and organizations with a lot of data from patients. I can say the magic words EMRs and all of this. We do know we don't want to replace those systems. We want to make it easier to DHIS2 to connect to those systems and get the relevant data when necessary. So any action within this objective is just to help make that process a bit more seamless. Full stop.
Yeah, and we know that one thing we always talk about here when we talk about this is that we have to go to real use cases, to real countries, and find the real problems before we are confident that they're useful. So that's what we're going to start with. We are going to go to 2 or 3 countries. This is something we are set aside time for and a team for, and we're going to start with this and explore the use case there. We expect future initiatives from that to get to the level needed in these countries. That's our objective. We also have an ongoing initiative for building and improving tools for integrating. We're not going to stop that work. We're going to keep that work going as well. But we are going to the countries and look for the input there.
And then sorry, I need to cough and switched it off. Last but not least, software priorities. I think the most time we had spent on this objective was to find the right name, but we landed here. It's not only technical, there can be also functional things that are actually needed independently of the strategy, high-level strategy priorities. So this is focusing on maintaining the DHIS2 secure, modern, and relevant in the broader technical or technology ecosystem. And we thought it's also good to tell you what are we doing on that end, even if it's not fancy, or maybe it is. It depends on the audience, but yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to mention this, and this is stuff that we would have done anyways with no strategy, with no direction, with no discussion. This is non-negotiable things we are doing, and one of them is to end up with one parser in the DHIS2 platform. We have a great new parser, a PEG, we call it a PEG parser, that we are running for all our expressions, almost, except that we also have an Antler engine on some of them, and we want to clean that up and consolidate. Much like with the program rule engine, we want the same engine, the same expression parser everywhere. We are doing a database update in the Android SDK. That was already ongoing, and we're going to keep going and finish this. We have some, as we talked about on Tuesday, now that we are serving a global shell, an app global shell, we can suddenly build features that work the same everywhere across all apps. So we are going to do some we call them cross-instance user experience feature. But what we really mean is that we can finally build session expiration that's the same everywhere. We can build logic that improves the platform in the same way in all the apps at once. So session expiration is the big one. And then in the same top menu, we mentioned it briefly on Tuesday as well. The top menu, the new navigation menu is extendable. And what we mean by that is that you can build apps that plugs in their own shortcuts. But we also want to be able to build logic into that menu so that you could type a command and go directly to the screen for adding a new data element with the name already filled in, or doing something else that logging out, or we want to be able to type into there, and we want that is going to be an extendable model that you can build your own commands on. That is useful for your users. And then the Hibernate, the most exciting one, Hibernate upgrade. We have to upgrade the Hibernate version. We were falling behind. This is all due, and we are doing this upgrade now. And then you might be wondering, what if where is my thing? I was missing this. So the last part here, Marta will talk a little bit about how to interact with this roadmap, how to influence us going forward, and I'll give the word back to you.
Yep. So, yeah, I guess the two things we want to tell you now is how to follow up this ambitious plan and how to contribute to it or the upcoming ones. So the answer is in discovery. This is new, not new. We have been using this from last year. I think it's going to be new for a while because the previous friend, Jira, was there for many, many years, and we are all very used to it. So discovery is adding a layer on top of Jira to make it easier to understand and follow up what's going on. Jira is there in the background and keeps being open and everything. But we are adding a more user-friendly layer for you to navigate. So there are two things I'll show you in a minute, but just to put your attention on the right places before. Roadmap UV43 is where you follow up the work. Propose ideas is where you contribute. So let's open that and see how it looks. Oh, of course. Can I continue at max? Should I take this screen out of here? Yes, it seems like you are well configured. Yay! So let's make this a bit smaller. So two places quickly. Follow up the roadmap. In here, you have a list of all the ideas, and an idea here is an equivalent to an initiative. And everything we have discussed or explained today is listed here. And you can navigate it by objective, which objectives are these things addressing, by strategic priority, by product area. Play with it and give us ideas if you want to see it differently. But here is where you can follow up the work. And how do we connect this with Jira? Let me find one that looks great. For example, row-based data entry. Here you will find a description of the problem, etc. But the interesting part is in delivery. There is a link to an epic in Jira. And that is where you can follow up the plans and the progress. Similarly, for the new maintenance app and the huge amount of work that is behind that. So you can really follow up Jira and have access to it, but it's kind of easier to navigate the way in. So this is for following up the roadmap. If there are changes, which I think we can all say now that there will be as we go.
Oh, no.
In the plans.
We will deliver on these plans. There is no doubt about that.
Are you recording?
No, but maybe it's worth mentioning that we have gone pretty detailed through these plans, and this is what we believe at the moment. of course, we don't know everything about everything we're doing. We're going to learn as we go, and we even have some initiatives that is called Learn. So there will potentially be changes to the plans, and we want
It
to
will be
communicate.
reflected here.
Yes.
In the unexpected event of a change of plans, it will be reflected here.
But we promise the intents. We will do that.
I think the important part is propose ideas. So now if you have and we have intentionally introduced the term ideas, because we used feature, JIRA feature, but then we are telling you, don't give us solutions, give us problems and all of. If you have an idea, oh, I need this. Okay, then share your idea. And it's shared here. You have a list here of all the ideas that have ever been shared or proposed, being delivered or not. And I think the strong message here is don't create features in JIRA. Issues of type feature, they don't go to JIRA anymore. They live here. When do I go to JIRA? To report bugs. Bugs live there. And the development team is following up there, and the product team. The ideas live here, and here we triage ideas, and we say, okay, that's already supported, or that's proposed. Proposed means we haven't looked at it. It's under consideration, we are somehow analyzing it, and then assign to roadmap. So when you want to propose or share something to be considered in the roadmap, just come to all ideas, look for something similar. Does it exist? I can add on, share my use case, share my user story. No, then I create a new one up here. I'm going to stop now. We are 3 minutes.